In 1984, the Space Shuttle Challenger carried a specialized payload of high-frequency radar sensors into low Earth orbit. We were looking outward, charting the stars. But the equipment on board ended up making its biggest discovery by looking back at the ground. The shuttle was equipped with advanced imaging radar. As it orbited the Earth, it began scanning the Rub al-Khali, the empty quarter of the Omani desert. On the surface, this region is a brutal, seemingly endless expanse of rolling sand where almost nothing survives. But the radar penetrated the sand, bouncing off the dense bedrock below to create a map of the subterranean world. The data returned something completely unnatural. Deep beneath the dunes, the radar detected a series of distinct geometric tracks converging on massive, deeply buried foundations. Those ancient subterranean tracks formed a sprawling web, funneling inward toward a single central hub. This was the unmistakable blueprint of a massive, heavily trafficked settlement, a city sitting squarely in a geographic zone that shouldn't be able to support one. Archaeologists looked at the precise layout and realized it matched a story they had long dismissed as a fairy tale. The coordinates aligned with the fabled Iram of the Pillars, a legendary city known as the Atlantis of the Sands. For centuries, the apocalyptic destruction of this ancient empire was written off as a myth. Now, scientists had hard, space-age data forcing them to treat the site as an active crime scene. To understand what the Challenger detected, we must roll the clock back to around 2000 BC. Following the Great Flood, the Arabian Peninsula looked very different. It functioned as a lush, thriving ecosystem rich with rivers, vegetation, and wildlife. This fertile basin was the territory of the Qawm-e-Ad, or the people of Ad. Ancient religious texts and local histories describe this society as a race of physical outliers, possessing the stature and strength of towering giants. This immense physical stature provided a unique advantage in construction. They could lift stone blocks and build structures physically impossible for normal humans. Their size allowed them to become the premier architectural power of the ancient world. At the height of their power, they were ruled by King Shaddad. He possessed unimaginable wealth and a fiercely arrogant vision. After hearing descriptions of a divine afterlife, Shaddad decided he would build his own literal heaven right here on Earth. For 300 years, Shaddad poured his resources into constructing Iram. It featured colossal stone columns, sprawling gold-plated palaces, and vast artificial canals, bending water to his will. Iram functioned as a physical declaration of dominance. By engineering this massive utopia, the people of Ad believed their technology had effectively conquered nature itself. Surrounded by towering monuments to their own greatness, the society fell into deep idolatry. Their wealth bred extreme arrogance, and they began to worship the massive stones they had carved. Local traditions state that the prophet Hud arrived to warn them. He urged the people of Ad to abandon their pride and recognize a higher power. They mocked him, boasting that their physical bodies were entirely invincible. Then the environment pushed back. A brutal, grinding drought settled over the peninsula for 3 years. The grand artificial waterfalls dried into cracked mud. The lush fields withered, and their livestock starved in the heat. Their enormous physical strength was useless against a changing climate. They could lift massive stones, but they couldn't squeeze water from a dry sky. They were slowly, silently starving in the center of their golden city. After 3 years of thirst, the people of Ad spotted movement on the horizon. A massive, deep black cloud began rolling across the sky, heading straight toward the city. Assuming their salvation had arrived, they made a fatal miscalculation. They believed the cloud carried heavy rain. Instead of seeking shelter, the starving population poured into the streets to rejoice. The black cloud reaching the city walls carried a wall of suffocating dust rather than the expected relief of rain. It was a cataclysmic sandstorm of incredible ferocity. The storm raged without a single break. For 8 days and 7 nights, howling winds stripped the landscape to the bedrock, tearing the city's inhabitants apart in the violent, abrasive dark. King Shaddad and his man-made heaven were buried alive. In a matter of days, the grandest city on Earth was entombed beneath millions of tons of heavy, shifting sand. That 8-day cataclysm permanently terraformed the region. The lush rivers and green valleys were choked out completely, leaving behind the vast, deadly sand dunes that cover the empty quarter today. The city stayed hidden for millennia until those radar pulses from orbit finally pointed the way down. When excavation teams eventually dug into the sands, they found ancient stone ruins, hard physical proof of the buried civilization. The discovery of Iram leaves us with a chilling historical reality. You can build a city of gold, you can engineer rivers, but human hubris is ultimately no match for the indiscriminate power of nature.